The Mission Impossible series in roughly 5 minutes. Your synopsis, should you choose to accept it, of the story so far. Spoiler alert. Ethan Hunt is the point man in a squad of IMF agents led by his mentor Jim Phelps and featuring Jim's wife, Claire. The team is tasked with observing the theft of a secret list of spies under non-official cover, the Knock List, from the American Embassy in Prague and catching the buyer. The mission goes bad, leaving Ethan seemingly as the only survivor. Close your eyes, Mighty Ducks fans! Ethan meets with IMF director Kittredge and learns the Knock List was phony and the mission was designed to lure out an IMF mole looking to sell the list to a buyer named Max. Ethan is now the prime suspect. He flees and figures out how to contact Max himself, with the help of Claire, who actually isn't dead. Ethan warns Max the Knock List is a fake but vows to deliver the real list in exchange for a meeting with the mole. Ethan and Claire recruit 2 disavowed agents, Luther Stickle and Franz Krieger, and they steal the real Knock List from CIA headquarters. They travel to London where Ethan is tracked down by Jim, who, like his wife, is also not dead. Ethan quietly realizes it's Jim who's gone rogue, and that Krieger is dirty too. Ethan arranges to pass the Knock List to Max aboard a train but tips off Kittredge. Disguised as Jim, Ethan then learns Claire is crooked too. The real Jim appears but kills Claire when he realizes the jig is up. Unsatisfied with simply blowing Jim's cover, Ethan also blows up his helicopter and squashes him with it. Max is arrested, the Knock List secured, and Ethan and Luther are reinstated as IMF agents. Fast forward a few years and Ethan has grown his hair and is super into Limp Bizkit. Unfortunately, another rogue IMF agent, Sean Ambrose, has used Ethan's identity to try and steal a new super virus and its cure from Dr. Vladimir Nikovich. Believing Ambrose's ex-girlfriend Naya to be the best way to get to him, the IMF tasks Ethan with recruiting her. Ethan does so by crashing into her car and sleeping with her. Tracking Ambrose to Australia, Ethan discovers the virus is still in the doctor's Sydney lab, which Ethan plans to destroy, but Ambrose discovers this by disguising himself as Ethan again and tricking Naya. Ethan is ambushed by Ambrose and his henchmen in the lab, but Naya injects herself with the virus instead of handing it over. Ambrose sets Naya loose in Sydney, planning to trigger a pandemic and make billions from selling the cure. Ethan finds Ambrose but appears to be captured by Ambrose's right-hand man Stamper and executed. The victim, however, is really Stamper in the movie's 3rd Ethan Hunt mask, allowing the real Ethan to escape with the cure as it suddenly dawns on the audience why they gave the script to the guy who made Face Off. After Ethan puts on his sunglasses and the studio really lets John Woo off the leash, Ambrose is killed in a flurry of slow motion and Naya is cured. Anyway, forget her, because the next time we pick up Ethan's story, he's now an instructor at the IMF, unbeknownst to his fiancée Julia. Ethan is sent by fellow IMF agent John Musgrave to rescue a colleague who's been captured by an arms dealer named Owen Davian. Ethan finds her, but she's killed by an explosive implanted in her head. IMF tech expert Benji Dunn tracks Davian to Vatican City, where he's supposed to obtain a mystery object called the Rabbit's Foot. Ethan quickly marries Julia, then heads to Italy with his team to successfully snatch Davian without IMF authorization. Unfortunately, Davian's crew grab Davian back before Ethan can return him, and Julia is kidnapped. Davian gives Ethan 48 hours to find and deliver the Rabbit's Foot, but Ethan is apprehended by the IMF and accused of going rogue. Musgrave helps Ethan escape, telling Ethan the Rabbit's Foot is in Shanghai. Ethan retrieves it and brings it to Davian, but has a bomb planted in his head in return. Musgrave appears, revealing he's gone rogue and is working with Davian, demonstrating yet again all the IMF's worst enemies work for the IMF.
It's complicated.
Ethan escapes, kills Davian, and has Julia electrocute him to disable the bomb. Julia straight up murders Musgrave, saves Ethan, and the two head off on their honeymoon. The next time we see Ethan, he's locked up in a Moscow prison. He's broken out and learns that an unknown mole in Russian intelligence plans to buy nuclear launch codes from a deadly assassin. Ethan leads a mission into the Kremlin, but an explosion destroys the building. Ethan's team is blamed and the entire IMF is disavowed. The IMF secretary plans to allow Ethan to escape, but is killed by Russian intelligence. Ethan flees the attack with the secretary's analyst, William Brandt. Brandt IDs the bomber as Kurt Hendricks, who blew up the Kremlin to steal a nuclear launch control device. The assassin is trading the codes with Hendricks' partner in Dubai, but Ethan and the team trick each party into a separate meeting. The assassin becomes wise to the ruse, but she's karateed from the 119th floor. But the other guy, who's actually Hendricks in disguise, escapes thanks to a sandstorm. In Mumbai, Hendricks uses an old Soviet satellite to launch a nuke at San Francisco, but Ethan manages to abort the missile with some 90s catchphrase pizzazz.
Mission accomplished!
As Hendricks watches on, dying. The IMF is cleared of the Kremlin bombing and the team regroup in the US with Luther, where Ethan spots Julia and we discover her death was faked by the IMF to protect her. Ethan's next impossible mission has him on the trail of the Syndicate, a terrorist organisation the CIA doesn't believe exists. Ethan is captured by the Syndicate in London but escapes with the unexpected help of apparently disavowed MI6 agent and Syndicate operative Ilsa Faust. In Washington, CIA Director Alan Hunley has the IMF disbanded, leaving Ethan cut off, still on the hunt for the Syndicate and its leader, former MI6 agent Solomon Lane. Ethan disrupts the assassination of the Austrian Chancellor with the help of Benji, but the Chancellor is still killed with a car bomb. Ethan is blamed for the killing and pursued by the CIA, despite everyone always being wrong when they suspect Ethan Hunt is dirty. In Casablanca, the team work with Ilsa to steal what turns out to be an encrypted British government file with access to 2.4 billion British pounds. Ethan kills a bunch of Syndicate bikers as Ilsa does a runner with the data that Benji has made a copy.
Of course I made a copy.
She wants to use the file as leverage to quit her undercover MI6 mission to infiltrate the Syndicate, but her handler Atlee forces her to continue and wipes the file. The Syndicate kidnaps Benji to use him and Ilsa to coerce Ethan to decrypt his copy of the data, which can only be unlocked by the British Prime Minister. Ethan's plan has Brandt work with Hunley and Atlee to secure the British PM before revealing that Ethan has disguised himself as Atlee to prove the existence of the Syndicate, which the real Atlee began without authorization and has been concealing since Lane went rogue. Ethan destroys his version of the data and subsequently lures Lane into a trap where he's arrested. Benji and Ilsa are safe, and Hunley has the IMF re-established, becoming the new IMF secretary.
Welcome to the IMF.
And that brings us to Mission Impossible Fallout, where Lane has escaped custody and the world is facing some dire consequences. So many questions. What are these consequences? Why is Superman reloading his arms? We'll find out soon enough. For more movie summaries, check out our recaps of the Jurassic Park saga and The Incredibles, and be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you like to watch IGN. In the meantime, that was 5 twisted espionage films in 6 and a bit minutes, so I'm gonna go self-destruct.